One partner is going to have the technology. The other partner is going to have a copy of Sleeping from yesterday. I have a couple of copies of that up front here, but you just need one between the two of you. You're not writing, I'm writing. I'm also recording, so. So, is anybody not at this URL? Can I go on to the doc? Type in the URL. B P I J. Okay. So, for some of the iPads, you might have to actually refresh it because it doesn't actually open live. If that bothers you, you can just watch it on the screen.
Do we really need this?
Well, instead of everybody crowding around the front of the room, I thought this would be helpful too. You're close enough that you could just probably watch it, right? But I just want to make sure that everybody's got access to what I'm doing. Yeah, we did that yesterday, so I'm assuming that we've done it. Okay. There you go.
Hey, can I have a copy of that?
Where did I say they were for people that didn't have them?
I'm not sure, but is that right beside you? Is this them?
There you go. Okay then. So, what I'm going to be doing is going through the basics of writing this essay. I might, I'll turn this on too. I am recording this as well. This was originally meant for a few students who had expressed concerns about essay writing who may or may not be here, so we'll have it for the long term.
Will it type live on the app?
It will type live on the app. If you want to use your own phone to watch it live, that's kind of cool too. I thought that they did. I thought that they did, but apparently in my 7A class they're telling me I'm not. Awesome, you can open it up there. So, I start off by putting this in LMI format. You people are going to zip it so I can teach. Alan Friesen, Alan at thefriesen.com welcomes you also. So I started off here with the title. You understand, don't you? Trauma and Loss in Weber's Sleeping. So in the title, I've just included the last name. I've included sort of a pithy little start to this, which is actually a direct quote from the short story. And I don't know how much I like it, but the understanding what's happened, what the trauma is, I suppose is important in our essay, so we're going to leave it like that. And then I started off the essay. So, when I start off an essay, and I'm going to just talk about this, then I'm going to flip back to planning. When you start off an essay, you need title, author, mode, hint. So you need to explain, or you need to list at least the title of the text. You need to give the author. You need to give the mode, and that is what type of literature it is, whether it's a film, short story, play, poem, blah, blah, blah. And then a hint. You're going to introduce the story in such a way as to hint at your thesis. Is about a babysitter who is, ironically enough, not babysitting, or babysitting an empty crib. Well, you'll get it as we talk about it. So then, let's go back to planning. I'm just going to plan a little bit on this here, and then I'll get rid of it, or maybe I'll just put it at the very end. How about that? There we go. No, stop it. Okay. This is not going to take the entire class, by the way. There will be lots of time for writing. So, planning. I'm talking about trauma and loss. The woman in the character, woman lost her baby. Her name is Mrs. Winter. I'm going to prove that by looking at her delusion. I'm going to look at her name, Winter. I'm going to look at the ending with Mr. Winter, or maybe the beginning, admonition to not check on baby. And then finally, what that means. Then I'm going to end with the so what's in conclusion. Okay. So this is basically what's going to be happening in my essay. So then, here we go. Now, I don't know if it actually says that there's an empty crib.
No, it just says that she better go to the door. She never goes.
Yes, she doesn't even go into the room. So, who is, ironically enough, babysitting an empty room? This may sound comical, and perhaps in certain circumstances it might be. However, in this short story, the ending in which the reader discovers that there is no baby is tinged with regret and sadness and is implicitly about the trauma of the loss of a child. How this works exactly, we are not sure. We only have clues as to the fact that the family, Mr. and Mrs. Winters, when Mr. and Mrs. Winter have lost their child. Jaden, were you here yesterday? Okay, save your questions till the end then. We have only hinted clues? I don't like that, but whatever. So I'm looking back at my plan. My plan says that I was going to talk about her delusion. At the beginning of the story, we are told that the babysitter, do we have a baby? Oh, Harriet, yeah. Harriet is to babysit a baby, but will not have to change a diaper or do anything at all, and that is on page 40. Now, note what I do here. Because I have a quotation here that's on the same page as this one here, I just included the page number at the very end. I didn't do 40 and 40. It's not ironic. It's a coincidence. So at the beginning of the story, we're told that babysitter Harriet is to babysit a baby, but will not have to change a diaper or do anything at all. Remember, we're talking about trauma. It's about trauma. Everything has to go back to trauma. So even this introductory topic sentence, I'm not really sure about it right now. I'm thinking maybe I should change it, but I'm going to do my revisions at the end. There's different styles of essay writing. Some people go and revise it as they write, so that by the time they're finished the essay, it's absolutely perfect. I do not work like that. I write a first draft. Sometimes I write it quickly, almost too quickly, and then I go back later and I fix it. One of the reasons why I advise you to follow this model is only because of the diploma. Oh, come on. It stopped oh, no, it kept it recording. Never mind. We're good. It had a little, nobody cares. The reason I suggest this is for those of you preparing for the diploma exam. If you're writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting an essay and you only get half done, that's worse than a first draft that's finished and not perfect. So I would advise you, as you type, as you write, whatever you do a first draft, then go back to it and fix it. So then.
Pretty dark.
Yes.
You know how you said MLA is like the kingpin of stuff?
No. MLAs?
Yeah.
MLA format.
Yeah.
Oh, MLA, yes.
Everyone, or my sister and like a bunch of other college people said that MLA
What discipline is your sister in?
Oh,
What is she taking?
oh, like massage therapy.
Right. So she's in the sciences, so she's probably using APA. MLA is the style that's used by those in English. And since we're in English class.
Is there a huge difference?
There's a significant enough difference that you'll have to listen to the prof when he says whatever format it's in. So, but just like biology is preparing you for university level biology, so too should English 20 and 30 prepare you for university level English. And I've yet to meet an English professor that might be out there, message me in the comments, that doesn't use MLA for their formats. So then, hint and clues that they've lost their child. It's odd that a family or that couple would hire a babysitter to not look after a baby, but this in and of itself isn't bizarre. Some babies are heavy sleepers and therefore don't need anything, especially if they are on a specific schedule. Okay. So I hear a lot of talking, and I hear a lot of dinging with noise and with technology. That back table especially is worrying me. If there's going to be any further problems or any laughing or anything like that, I'm just going to move you all up to the front. You know what I mean. So the first trauma is going to be the loss of the child. But there's no baby. In fact, we don't see a baby throughout the story, aside from the one that Harriet held when she was 6. Now notice that I use the past tense here. In literary essays, typically we write in what's called the literary present. That is, we assume that everything that's happening in the story is taking place right now. What's with the dinging, people?
Yeah, I had 2 seconds notifications.
There's some back there that are making noise.
Maybe just turn off the noise. Thanks. So if anything happens before the story starts, you put it in the past tense. But everything that's being described in the story, you put it in the present tense. Because Harriet held a baby in the past, you need to make sure that you put that into the past tense. It's funny because I did this all with my grade 7s and 8s and they had 0 problems for the entire 40 minutes.
Good for them.
Okay.
Conclusions real fast.
I haven't concluded yet.
We did an assertion that they were like dicking around.
Well, that's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Safe assumption.
See?
There you go. Okay. We don't see a baby throughout the story aside from one that Harriet held when she was 6. The babysitter, sans baby, flips through photographs, channels on the television, and even tries to enter the baby's room, but it's locked. This is a sign. This is another sign that something is wrong. Why would the room in which a baby is sleeping be locked when babysitter does not have... Oh, this is a terrible sentence. I'd like us all just to pause for a second and note how terrible the sentence is. Why would the room in which a baby is sleeping be locked when the babysitter does not have access to it? Ugh, that's ugly. But I'm going to come back to that later. Why wouldn't the parents leave a key? Now note that rhetorical questions are fine. In fact, these rhetorical questions echo the same questions that you as readers should have. Why is the door locked? Isn't she supposed to like get the child if the child is like screaming or something? She can't even get in. That's really weird.
They don't know that the door is actually locked per se. She felt like it was locked, but she didn't want to try it open.
Well, but it seems like it's locked. Even if the room is not locked and Harriet simply didn't apply enough, Harriet simply does not apply enough pressure to open it. The fact that Weber included this idea from Harriet's perspective indicates a problem or something. Fix this later. Indeed, at the end of the story, after too many M&Ms and what could only seem to be an incredibly boring night for the babysitter, Mr. Winter drives Harriet home. When they reach her home, Mr. Winter says, "You understand, don't you?" Without, even though Harriet in the narration, even though the narrator notes that Harriet doesn't really know what he's talking about. Okay, I'm taking that out because it's a little bit more complex than that. The idea of Harriet understanding what has happened is more complex than is complex. The narrator notes that she isn't sure what he's talking about, while simultaneously she did really know what he was telling her. Harriet knows and doesn't know. Perhaps this reflects our culture's unwillingness to talk about the death of a baby, or even more taboo, the issue of miscarriage. Regardless, Mr. Winter is saying that something has happened to his wife. There is no baby. There is no Charles. There is no Charles that we can see. There's no Charles that we can see. The room is likely locked. The parents tell the babysitter to not worry about taking care of the child. And Mr. Winter hints at something, hints at a tragedy. Why would a couple then hire a babysitter? Perhaps the reason is for Mr. Winter to make his wife feel, or to humor his wife. Taking her out on a date while a babysitter is at home looking after a child that Mrs. Winter thinks she has, again this is awkward fix, might help her to feel normal better. for a few hours. Mr. Winter understands that something is wrong, indicating thus in this conversation with Harriet at the end. Harriet knows. Though it's never explicitly mentioned. Ultimately then, sleeping is a tale about a child who isn't there, a story that euphemistically refers to the illness of a woman, if not the death of her child. Even the title is euphemistic. When a person dies, it's not uncommon for parents to say to young children that the deceased is sleeping, merely sleeping. Certainly, death has the appearance of sleep. Although we do not conclusively know what has happened to Charles, we do know that it has had a profound effect on Mrs. Winters, and Mr. Winters is doing all that he can to make his wife feel better. Now, so what? I've kind of concluded this a little bit. It doesn't have a conclusion. What does this tell us, though? What is Weber trying to tell us about trauma, about loss? We need this at the end. Sorry?
Accept it. So she's saying the baby's still. She's in denial.
She can't accept what has happened to Charles. Perhaps this is a lesson for us all. When death comes to us,
Wait, shouldn't the conclusion be like in a separate little paragraph?
no, this is its own paragraph.
Oh, so this is all
Included
included
it, and then it needs to be
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah. When death comes to us, a refusal to accept reality may result in the type of trauma displayed by Mrs. Winter. Oh, I didn't even talk about her name. Maybe I'll do that here. Even the parent's name, Winter, implies death. Winter is the season when cold covers envelops a world where plants die and crops are unable to be harvested to grow, where life stills for a season. In such a short story, every word is important, and the chosen surname of the couple who have presumably lost a child gives a further hint that Charles, the child who needs to be babysat, has indeed passed away.
She should just go along with it and keep babysitting for them. It's like the easiest job ever.
Money in the bank.
Like
Yeah.
in the real world, if she keeps babysitting and she gets paid a lot of money, like the story says.
Now, that's a good point to talk about very quickly. That's something we would think about in terms of real life. It'd be a pretty sweet gig just to go to somebody's house and do nothing and get paid for it. But remember that this is a story, and because it's a story, it doesn't operate according to the same rules that that real life does. In fiction, names mean something. For instance, in the lottery. We've got Mr. Graves. We've got, who else do we have as far as names go? Mr. Summer. Names mean something. If I were to make a big deal about Jaden, what does Jaden mean?
God is heard.
God is heard. If Jaden were to walk into class one day and said, I heard the name of God this morning and he told me to tell you to shut up, and this was real life, I would be like, yeah, sit down. If this was a story, I wouldn't explicitly talk about what your name meant, but it would make sense that a character named Jaden would do this. Exactly. So real life and fiction don't operate according to the same rules. So then, okay, let's just...
You don't really have to have a set amount of things to talk about. You can just talk about a few things in depth, or
Yeah.
a lot of little things. Kind of
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, you don't, there's no requirements for an essay. I mean, let me just pop this into Word so I can look at it.
It's Jehovah. Jehovah is heard.
My mistake. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 body paragraphs.
So quick.
This is about 800 words. This is a length you should be looking for your diploma exam. I can't say about university. My first year of university, Reed, what are you doing?
What?
Why are you fiddling with Justin's iPad? In my first year of university, my introductory papers in English 100 were about 5 pages each. That was or 500 words each. That was the requirement. So this year at 800 words is even a little bit too long for what I was supposed to do. Yes, there is such a thing as too long. Typically, when a person gives you a requirement in terms of length, what they're expecting is that you're following the length requirement. And you cut down the inessential stuff. So for instance, the paragraph with the last name may be able to be dealt with in a couple of short comments, as opposed to its entire paragraph. Maybe that's an interesting point you make in the introduction. Winter, in brackets, their very name symbolizing death. Maybe that's all you need. So then, 800 words approximately. I've also included a work cited. Now, this is not something that I'm expecting you to worry about in 20-1 or 10-1 or 10-2, but in 30, I am expecting that it's there. I put it on this one because I wanted you to see what it looked like, but I'm not going to be talking about it too much.
Story. It's like
The work cited, and if you have more than one, it would be works cited, but because there's only one, it's work cited.
So it's just like, I got this information from.
Yeah, this is where the source is. Yeah, and there's a specific format for that. What's really nice is that nowadays you've got sites like CiteMe or BibMe. BibMe is the one I'm looking for. In BibMe, didn't have this when I was in university. You can choose first of all which style you're using, and then you find a book. So let's do Flash Fiction forward Shepard. Look at that. It finds it. You select it. And then, and this isn't exactly, I'll cite a chapter. There we go. Okay. And it's called Sleeping. And the contributor name is Catherine Weber. She's the author. And then, oh, let's take out that one. That's probably fine. And then create citation.
Should plagiarism check?
No. So it actually puts it in the right format.
Does it work?
Wait, I don't get it. What?
This here, what I've selected is it's almost what I've got here. It's close enough that it's. I didn't include the subtitle, 80 very short stories. And the one online didn't include the editor names, which you need, but the rest of it is exactly what you need, including the print. And it's searched, it's for, like, let's do...
Jack and Annie.
No, Spider-Man 2.
1984, George Orwell. Let's
84?
look at 1984.
It's 8-4.
Want to look at that? So maybe we don't want to use bibme anymore because it's got some problems. All right. So then,
You wanna print off a copy?
I will print off a copy, no problem. Just a quick refresher. Your introduction, the very first line needs to have mode, author, title, hints. The very last line of it needs to have a thesis, trauma of the loss of a child. This is a first draft. There's some stuff that I don't like, and I would force myself to fix it if I did it. Introduction of every single paragraph needs to have a topic sentence, what the paragraph is about. You need to use quotes. Notice how I integrated the quotes into the grammar of the sentence. You need to transition between different ideas. And then you need to conclude. Any further questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right.